Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. You walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight. Ooh, show me your soul, baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Can't you see it's way past time? How expensive do I have to be? And then I spell it out before you get it, baby. Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine.
Woo! Good morning to you. Yes, I know they're like, what? It's not Labor Day yet. Why is Lauren in the bathrobe? Because the bathrobe's going hiatus, just like my mastermind, slam the hammer, until fall from June 1st to next week after Labor Day. Let me tell y'all, you know I'm quite transparent with you. Last night, y'all, remember yesterday when we were here? I had everything laid out, showed you my little Tropicana, told you I was going to make chicken soup, which I did. Anyway, because I thought I had a cold, and you guys know that I have had asthma all my life. I was wearing masks like we wear now when I was a little kid. Outside, I couldn't go outside without them. It was horrible. I was almost a kid in the bubble because I was a preemie. I was born July 4th. Apparently, I wasn't due until early October. So I was barely 4 pounds when I was born. So anyway, that causes all that. And I have this thing in my fingers called digital clubbing, which affects your breathing and whatnot. So anyway, it's manageable. I've had it all my life, but it does not play well with a sinus infection. Now, what I thought was a cold yesterday, after being on the phone for hours yesterday with my doctor, I find out she says she's pretty sure I have a sinus infection. So I have to go in there today and do a CAT scan. Oh, you might even have a deviated septum. I'm like, stop, girl. Okay, just hold up a minute. So anyway, last night. Okay, so I have all this stuff going on in the chest. I go to bed early. Brian, it was like we were having the chicken soup for dinner. He goes, oh, would you like me to pour you a glass of wine? I was like, no. He's like, oh, you really don't feel well. Because that's a sign up here. Look, let me tell you something. I don't know. We never miss a glass of wine at night. I did yesterday. So anyway, I go to bed. I wake up around 12. By 2 o'clock, I really thought I was going to have to go to the emergency room. So I said, no, just get up and grab your albuterol. What do? Just like in that movie, Flatliners. Remember that woman out in the one who was out, was it Flatliners? Yeah, the one, it was some movie, remember, and she had a greenhouse and stuff. Oh, Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Ooh, that fine ass Rebecca de Monnier. Remember that? I said it wrong, but you know, that's the ghetto version of French. Yeah, Rebecca, whatever, what, Monnier. Rebecca, her. And she couldn't, and she hid that woman's inhalers. She was digging in drawers. I've never had a real emergency with an inhaler in 59 years. Last night I did one puff, and halfway through it went, and I was like, right? And I came running downstairs and digging in drawer, just like the movie. Brian had to run to the pharmacy and get this over-the-counter yucky Primatene Mist. But last night, she was Archangel Gabriel when she came in the house. So anyway, long story short, I ended up, the only way I could literally breathe was I stacked all the pillows from the couch. I pulled the table in the family room over as close as it could. My knees were bent, and I had pillows up to here, and I could lay like this because I had to be upright. I was like, why don't we have a recliner? No more lazy boy or Burka Lounger jokes out of this one. That's for sure. I'm putting one somewhere in this house. You best believe. So anyway, when do I go to sleep? I fall asleep at 6:20. And I woke up at 7:20 and I had to be here. So I apologize to my wonderful guest today. Runway Walker used to be the George Michael stand-in for the younger George, and GQ model. That was once a magazine. Do they still have that magazine? Tim CHRISMAN. When we were in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago for this. Remember that? I want to see that black girl dancing in there. She'd be killing me. I was looking for her at the Star Trek convention because I was like, girl, you got to save me a dance. But I didn't find her. But I found a lot of other great people, and today's guest is one of them. His name is Tim CHRISMAN, and he is the co-founder of an organization, nonprofit organization by the name of Foundation for the Future. And if you looked at the promo for the show, you'll see that I said this. What do they do? Well, the Foundation for the Future is an education and advocacy nonprofit dedicated to creating a federally chartered public/private corporation for space infrastructure development and ultimately, here's the good part, enabling space access for everyone. Now, hold on, because I tried to read too last night. Right, hold on. I got to grab it. Okay, so it was on the dining room table. So, sorry for you people who weren't ready for that this morning. I should warn you before I show him. And you know what? I just posted something. A memory came up this morning. 6 years ago today, I traveled to Cincinnati, Ohio, to Dr. Monica Swoop, who was my girlfriend. And yeah, girl, I barked up that tree in high school. Was my girlfriend and cheerleading partner in high school. She's a dentist. So I went all the way there so she could glossen my teeth. She whitened my teeth for the competition. And I said, I only got 18 days left. I was really nervous in it. But when I looked at it, I was like, aw, and went on to win that, beating 3,000 people. The average age, 25. How old was I? 53. So it's never too late, y'all. So anyway, why I thought this is so wonderful, because have you seen the current cover of Time magazine? I bought it when I was at the grocery store just the other day. Inspiration 4. civilians are making their way into space. Now, I never thought that that would be the kind of thing outside of Danger Will Robinson, Danger Will Robinson, that sort of thing, because I didn't even watch. Is Dan even watching? I never really watched Star Trek, the old one with Lieutenant Uhura in them. I did, but that Deep Space Nine stuff, no, I didn't. I did when I was getting ready for Vegas. But anyway, now space is a totally different frontier, one that is becoming more and more readily available to people just like you and I. And our guest today, Scott CHRISMAN, is doing something to help facilitate that in a big, big way. And so we're going to talk about it because I find it very interesting. This entire issue pretty much is based on this new concept of all of us having access to space and what it means for the longevity of Earth itself. A lot of things going on in there, and I want you to know about it because I had no clue whatsoever. So here we go. You guys, this is a first timer. Yes. He is new to the show, never been here before. So we put on our best behavior, welcome him with hearts on the screen, and more importantly, put your questions, put your comments, put your heart into the conversation, because that's what we do here. We have illuminated conversations because that's when they come to light. Can I get an amen real quick? That is the bell of purpose. When you hear it ring, it means get involved. It means something really exciting is happening in the air. And then also at the last moment, help me. Welcome to the show. My sidekick, she's here every day. She's my version of Ed McMahon. This is Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. Ooh. Did I sound like Louise Jefferson just there? George, guess what? Here he comes. Tim CHRISMAN. Oh, and I'm telling you, Chris, hey, welcome. If you find yourself on the screen like this, suddenly with no explanation, that's because I was about to do some mucusy stuff.
So I'll just cover.
Right.
Yeah.
I usually mute, but I'm not going to mute today. I'm leaving completely. So get ready to carry the show.
Got it. I'll tap dance.
Yeah. Oh. Now, let me say this, Chris, as we get started, and you say hello to the people. And I want you to say hi, tell them where you are in the world, give them a little backstory. But as always, we're seeing y'all, this is his play clothes. These are his play clothes.
Yes, I woke up in this, just like you.
I know, I believe it. Because I remember when you walked in the door. No, you were there that first afternoon, sitting over on the couch up in the penthouse. And I was like, oh, wonder who that is. He must be some bigwig. Right. So I was sitting over on the steps like the little nobody that I am. And I really was, because y'all didn't look up and miss a beat. I eased out the door. Nobody knew I'd ever even been there. But then that night, we came back for that first meet and greet, the Lower Decks party. And boy, what do you call that? I think it was, I would say checkered, but is it plaid?
Either one, yeah.
Let's go with plaid, but big plaid. It was beautiful. And it looked like little elves had sewn it on your body. Would I come over and ask you?
Yeah. It's actually body paint.
No, it wasn't. I had body paint on recently in my photo shoot, so I know what that's like. Trick no good. It was a beautiful suit. Everything you wore was so impeccably gorgeous. You actually you got sick of me asking, and you tore the label out of one of the suits. So like, here, take this. Can I get some rest now, some peace? But Tim, the outside of you was just the beginning. It was over the course of the next 2 days that I learned that those clothes on the outside had nothing on what I found on the inside. And I'm so glad you're here today to share. I love what you're doing. Tell everybody who you are, where you are in the world, and let's get started talking about this awesome organization known as Foundation for the Future. Oh, you.
Yeah. So, Tim CHRISMAN. I live in Falls Church, Virginia, just outside D.C., and have been here for a little over 6 years now. So, the thing that's taking up most of my time is this Foundation for the Future that you mentioned, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
But try to keep myself busy with as much as possible.
Now, do you have children?
2.
You have 2. Are you in one of their rooms?
No, this is the basement. Yep. They live in Minnesota. I'm here in Falls Church.
Okay, so that's all your space stuff, is my.
This is all me.
Okay, what was it? You had a dream of being an astronaut when you were a boy? Oh, how did you get into this?
I assume it's similar to how most people start liking space. When they're a kid, they see whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, a cartoon that had space in it and liked it. And I always thought it would stay that way. It would just be this fictional thing. I'd read a science fiction book sometimes, but it would never be real. And so I kind of grew out of space in many ways, joined the Army, did a lot of work with the Army, the CIA, and
who?
That's true.
Oh, Lord, half my family members just logged off. You know that stupid boy got the CIA on his show today? Turn off your computers, and they're calling everybody right now. Don't even call him. Right, he being watched. So anyway, no, that was the previous me. So anyway, okay, you were with the CIA.
Yep.
Okay. You hear that every day.
That's true. Quite rarely. You also don't hear about people being from Alaska, which is where I started. So.
Oh wow.
I got 2 party tricks.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Juneau?
Fairbanks.
Now that's the capital, right?
No,
right Juneau's the capital.
Yep, Juneau's capital, right in the middle. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That was on Brian's Let's Get Engaged competition when I proposed.
Yeah.
I had it all set up at the restaurant, and there were these questions. We were going to win a trip somewhere, and one of them was one of the questions was what is it called? The capital of Alaska.
Oh yeah.
We had just watched a documentary the day before.
Oh.
And he got that one. And then the last question, guess what the last question was when he froze up? When was the War of 1812 fought? And he goes, oh, crap, we're screwed. And then it dawned on, hey, wait. Right, so anyway, that's how that happened. That was our engagement. So anyway, Alaska, you go up. I'm assuming you had to go off to college. You're a pretty smart guy.
Went to college there. Yep.
And what did you major in?
Political science.
Okay.
Not a fancy thing.
And what were you thinking you wanted to do?
Always knew I wanted to join the Army. That was probably from 4 or 5 years old. I knew I was going to join the Army, and that was it.
Okay, so when you were in the Army, did something more happen to ignite this fire as far as your connection with space, or just you got sick of everything else?
Yeah, so I ended up did 10 years in the Army, was in a lot of cool units with great people, but took a toll on my body. So I have arthritis in all my joints, have had it since early 20s. And after about 10 years in the Army, had to be medically retired because I couldn't lift my arms over my head. And from there, it was a jarring experience because this is something all I wanted to do in my life.
Right.
And so transitioning out of the Army, ended up going to the Pentagon and then CIA, doing the same work, doing some intelligence work, but still not sure like what's next. And space started becoming this thing when I started doing a weekly newsletter for my cohort that entered the agency at the same time. So we all went through training the same time, and I would send around a weekly email about some science news or discovery that had happened week, and would write a little short story about one of us in the class and like doing something dumb, and then it tie into this new science thing.
Let me ask you something, because as I mentioned, I'm holding it up again.
Yeah.
This, I'm sure you've read it already, right?
It's that is a exciting crew.
It really is the first all-civilian trip into orbit.
Yeah.
Now, here's what I don't understand. I remember Challenger.
Yeah.
Now, because they didn't actually get out there, is that why? This is that because they had Krista McCullough. And they attempted this before.
So they had some military and NASA crew on board as well.
Right. Oh, okay. All civilian. I get it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, are civilians still, I mean, because you're in the know, you're everywhere, you're traveling constantly, talking to everyday people, I'm sure, about the possibility of going into space.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of people who were, you know, the young kids won't remember the Challenger thing, except for what they learned in school, but a lot of us were watching in classrooms and offices all over the world when that happened. Do you think we're over that yet as far as, okay, I'll go? What are you hearing?
Yes. So the short answer is yes. I think the idea that a spaceship is going to somehow explode and ruin your trip is in the back of people's minds.
Right.
But that is not the hurdle. Most of the hurdle is, I'm not a billionaire. How could I ever go to space?
Yeah. Okay. And billionaires are actually the people, at least we know one. There was a couple because Elon Musk is involved in this stuff.
Richard Branson.
Yeah. Why do you feel these types of people are so vested in helping the rest of us open up our minds and hearts to the possibility that this is indeed the future? Do they know something about Earth we don't? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Y'all better get on here, get the hell out of here. You know, I'm like,
I would assume it's a mix of feeling like they want to make a difference. And, you know, by this point, you've made so much money. Doesn't even matter that you make more money. It's about how do you become immortal in, you know, legend and history and stories. And so that's no doubt part of it. You know, I feel the same way. I'm sure most of us want to be remembered. And so that's part of it.
That's true.
But part of it does seem to be a genuine feeling that they are uniquely positioned to help. And that whether it's because of previous experiences, interests, or just the fact they have a lot of money, they can move the needle towards taking us to this next frontier and doing it fast. Yeah.
Yes. Speeding up the process. So we don't have to wait on government.
Exactly.
Because it may never happen.
Right.
Interesting. So how does something like what's happening and just when do they, September 6th, it says the countdown for Inspiration 4 mission to space starting September 6th. So right around the corner. How do you think this mission is going to impact the work you all are doing with Foundation for the Future?
Well, this and the billionaire summer launches, the Chinese acceleration of their space program, all are having essentially the same effect for us, which is free advertising. It is on the cover of Time. And so when I talk to you in Vegas, when I talk to others, they're like, oh, I just saw something about space. This doesn't seem so wild and crazy, and outlandish. And so that helps bring our message more into the mainstream. More people are more willing to listen.
Including myself.
Right.
Because I'll be honest with you, I'm just keeping it real with you, Tim, and with y'all out there. When I went to, even when I first got signed up to come to Vegas, and every time I mentioned it to people, it was like for shock factor, because they go like, what? You know, they were excited that I was going to Star Trek convention, but they were more interested in me taking pictures of all the people dressed up in costumes.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was what it was all about. And then I met you and many others. And I said, oh, this is a real thing. So let's talk about how did you come to the decision to begin this organization? I mean, it has to be a passion, right? To walk away from everything you've known into the unknown, go where no man has gone before kind of deal, literally.
Yeah.
What sparked that pulling the trigger on that?
Ultimately, what happened was, sure, I'll do the story. COVID hit last year.
Yeah.
At the time, working at the agency, couldn't work from home. And so the work we did had to be in the office. And so during that time when I couldn't go in the office, I finished up collecting all those short stories I was talking about that I was sending it to my coworkers, compiling it into a book. My wife and others had been like, just put this into a book. You've got a book done. And so did that and just sat on it for a while because I was like, this isn't real. I had collected them together and turned it into a prehistory of space, 100 years of stories into the future of people living and working in space. And I hadn't written myself into it because I didn't think it was real. And so I'm sitting in this room feeling, depressed, bad for myself, thinking I don't, believe in this future I'm painting for others, and realized I could keep wallowing. I could sit here and complain and whine for the rest of my life and wait for billionaires or government to fix something. Or I could just go, see what happened, fix things, try again. And that's when I started the process of creating the foundation with this idea that I don't have special science skills. I don't know what I'm doing in space. I'm a political science guy who spent 15 years doing intelligence work. So I'm good at stealing secrets and talking to politicians. So that was where I looked to my...
Did you say stealing secrets?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't wait till we hook up again. I want to hear all those stories. I'll be like, what happened to you? Did you kill him? I'm that kind of kid. Right. You're lucky I didn't know that a couple weeks ago.
I like to reel it out slowly.
Wow. So go on, Tim. Go on. I'm sorry.
No. And so that was what started this idea of the foundation that, people like me, not science people, not, smart engineers, want to do space too. But too often we're sent to Star Trek conventions and, science fiction books instead of, no, come on, let's do the space thing.
To the think tanks and all the places where the learned gather.
Yeah.
The proverbial real watering hole.
Right.
So was there up until, do you feel currently that there is, or are we in the process of providing seats at that table for ordinary everyday people?
That's what we're trying to do here at the foundation.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're doing. So once a month, we hold a conference where leaders from across the space community, ranging from next month, the FAA, commercial space administrator, all the way down to high school students, will be presenting on sustainability in space. And so those are events where we try to bring people into the conversation, have them have that seat where they can directly ask the questions, directly hear from these influencers, these people running companies and agencies, and make that accessible to them.
So here's the website, and when you give it a cursory glance, you think, let me get out of here. This is for smart people. That's what I did. I actually logged in. I was like, I must be on the wrong side. I clicked off and re-entered and ended up in the same place. Ooh, this really is it. And then when you explained it to me, because, and that's a real thing, and I want to talk about that for just a second. It just happened when we were in the green room waiting to come on. I really did go over and I felt intimidated. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. What are you doing, Lauren? Get out of here, you stupid, right? And I felt that way. But then when you took me back in and I started actually verbalizing what you see on the side there, all the different components or opportunities. I was like, well, that's normal everyday stuff. Why is it, Tim? Do you think have we been groomed to believe that space is not for us? Or is it just so new from that aspect that we really, what do you see for people like me and those out there watching 10 years from now? How do you hope we'll feel about what we're looking at on the screen in 10 years?
Oh, in 10 years, I think
Yeah.
we will be looking at it like we currently look at, the iPhone 2. Oh, yeah, I remember that when it came out, but like, wow, that's really old. That over the next 10 years, you're going to have Marriott's opening in space, Hilton's opening in space. Right now, the cost of a person going to space is $250,000. A lot of money, to be sure, but that is down from $20 million 20 years ago. And so in 10 years, we can expect it to be closer to 25,000 for a trip to space, and dropping until it'll probably get to the point where you could go to Australia business class or space for roughly the same price.
Do you really believe that?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
How is that going to happen? Well, listen, we're going to go to commercial real quick. And when we come back, we're going to find out how that's going to happen and what kind of luggage do you pack if you're going to space? That's what I want to know. We'll be back in just 1 minute, you guys, with the more of the conversation with Tim CHRISMAN of the wonderful Foundation for the Future. The future impacts us all. And this one today is a humdinger. Don't you dare go away.
Except I received this insight about a title called Prisoner of War. The book.
Okay, we're back. I was finishing up that last bite of banana. And before we bring the wonderful Tim CHRISMAN back, CHRISMAN, I said Christmas, Lord Jesus. Listen, if you want to do better, here it is, right here in a tiny can. That's right, 1 full serving of vegetable juice, 30 calories per serving, and 100% vegetable juice from concentrate. Dump the sugar, dump the power drinks, head down the juice aisle right next to the, in my store, it's right next to the Kool-Aid boxes for kids. Go figure. And get yourself a V8. Do yourself a favor. Do better. Look for the E and R in life. Squish it over to what you currently are and take great to greater, bright to brighter, strong to stronger. V8. Okay, Tim CHRISMAN, come on in. So listen, seriously though, I'd mentioned the Challenger thing.
Yeah.
Are there conspiracy theories about that? Like maybe they wanted to scare civilians away from ever thinking, look what happens. Look what happened the last time y'all tried to go up there. You're not astronauts. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, I mean, there's anytime there's something like that, there are some people who are going to think that there's something like that happening. Mm-hmm. I tend to err on the side of assuming incompetence instead of malice.
Right.
And especially with that one, I don't know. I can tell you a secret. It's just you and I. There's nobody else here, right?
No.
Yeah. That I don't pay a lot of attention to detail with a lot of things. And so with the Challenger, somebody forgot to convert from metric to English. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I would totally do that.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And so they didn't convert right when they made one of the sealants, the seals for the fuel tank. And so it didn't seal, and more fuel got in to the engine, and that caused a runaway explosion.
Clearly somebody that got in on scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
they were good at football.
Right. Yeah, right. That guy or gal. So let's talk about this. So here we are, a few generations ahead of that time. And what I mean is, I saw it, but I was in a classroom, and now clearly, Methuselah. But we have all these young people who are dreaming in a totally different way than I did, probably even more than in a different way than you did when you were that age. Do you feel that when this happens with the Inspiration 4 mission, do you, first of all, how do you think this is going to change the mindset of everyday, not just America, but people in the world? And will these civilians ever be civilians again after this mission?
I hope they are turn into the ambassadors for the difference space can make.
I agree.
Yeah. And too often there's this idea that space is this place for rich people to go and, blow their money, or it's a waste of time to go up there. But there's something profoundly different when you climb a mountain and look out. When you look out across a large area, on top of a mountain, there's just something in you that makes you feel more connected to everything you see. And the 550 people, the 550 people who have gone to space have reported something similar in space, but all the more powerful.
Now that's actually Frank White
exactly.
wrote a book about that.
Yep.
And it's called the what's that?
The overview effect.
The overview effect.
Yep.
And they say that once you see it from there, the perspective shifts, and you're never the same again.
Oh no! I was just talking with somebody. They were comparing it to what happens to microdosing on LSD. It changes the composition of your brain when they have looked at the astronauts, and they are literally do not have the same brains when they come back.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And I recently was speaking to someone about this, the overview effect, our mutual friend Anara.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And she mentioned that. I said, oh yeah, Frank White, I know who that is. And she said that if every person got to have that opportunity to view from that perspective, it would solve we wouldn't be in competition with each other. We wouldn't have racism. All kinds of things would just be eradicated. Do you believe that?
I believe it will help. I believe at the end of the day, we are fancy monkeys that wear nice clothes.
Yeah.
And so we'll find a reason to fight each other. But I do think that just like large cities taught us to work better together, that having that larger perspective is going to change the stakes when we fight.
Right.
Sure, there'll still be arguments and disagreements, but it has that unifying effect that is hard to get elsewhere.
Now, here's another thing, because I picked this up. I happened to watch this yesterday with all that downtime. I record 60 Minutes every week, right? And last week's 60 Minutes was about, they don't call them UFOs. They had another name for them. And they were showing how we're being kept in the dark, literally, about things that cannot be explained. And they had fighter pilots and stuff. And they were showing these little blips that were moving and doing things that they should not have been able to do. No smoke plumes dropping at so many thousand feet per second and staying there, and they had them in their sights and they just disappeared completely. And they're like, well, what are they? Now, what I kept hearing in there with it too was also they weren't willing to just say it's something from another place,
Yeah.
something otherworldly. They did throw it in there, but they had to say, or it could be China, or it could be, that. Oh Lord, no. So let me ask you, how do you feel? And the people that you run in these circles with, some of the people that are coming to or have been to your events, do you guys ever talk about what else is out there, what may be encountered when we start visiting? Or do they just act like we're the only ones?
Oh no, there is a assumption within, I suppose it's mostly universal, within the space community, that there are other aliens somewhere. We haven't found them. They don't appear to have found us. But the universe is just too big for us to be the only ones.
So do you believe in crop circles and what do you think Stonehenge is and all that?
Oh, I believe that crop circles are real and made by teenagers who like pranks.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think those are done by aliens?
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's like a joke to all the space people that the rest of us, did you see what those aliens did?
Oh, no, there's, I don't know that it.
Okay, what about Stonehenge?
People piled up rocks.
How?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at lifting rocks, so.
Right. Okay. Well, one day somebody's gonna know. I'll probably be dust by then. Let's talk about, tell people these upcoming conversations, and I love that. It says upcoming conversations for the future webinar events. June 8th, you had space logistics. In July, thriving in space. August, workforce and industrial base. And coming up September 8th and 9th, space garbage, recycling, and sustainability. That ties into one of the biggest issues on this planet.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us how the connection and how this is what we need to be seeing. So talk about that real quick if you could.
Yeah. So the conversation next week is around this idea that, for one, space gives us a chance to do things right. Throughout human history, expansion and growth and new opportunities came on the backs of harming someone or something else. And so now in space, we have a chance to change that. And there's not any risk or downside or harm that is caused by mining an asteroid. And the risk people take going to space is their own. So, but one of the things that has happened over the past 50 years is there's a lot of trash in space.
There is?
Yeah. Used rocket bodies, debris. This stuff is up there, broken satellites, and we don't have a good mechanism for cleaning it up. There's a lot of great ideas that essentially involve burning it up in the atmosphere, which is perfect. We just need something to push it there. And so that is this sort of genesis of this talk, is how can we manage the traffic that's going up, make sure there's a no litter policy, how can we, implement the technologies needed to remove some of that, and help keep the sort of near space lanes clear, so that we can keep getting up to space and moving beyond.
Wow. I was just sitting here while you were talking, thinking about how when I was a kid, I watched the Jetsons or Lost in Space or Star Trek, if you will, and how I thought that was like Jack and the Beanstalk. I really did.
Yeah.
And here in my lifetime, even, I just think it's incredible that one day, there could be a real Judy Jetson. I think it's just incredible. But I have to beg this question. What's to say we're not going to go there and create the same havoc, be as careless there as we are and have been here? Because it started off well down here, but as we evolved, so did laziness. disregard, greed, and all those things. What in these conversations, if anything, talks about how we don't repeat those things?
Yeah. It is something that seems very front of mind for a lot in the space community. This part of the community seems to have this idea that once you leave Earth, we'll leave all the problems behind. And so we just don't need to worry about war and drugs and bad things. It'll just go away in space.
But Tim, isn't that kind of the mindset of the forefathers when they left wherever they left to come here?
Yep. Oh, completely. And so what we're trying to do is understand, look, we are messed up animals, and we're going to take our problems wherever we go. And so if we're going to do that in space, how do we build systems to prevent the worst problems from following us? And how can that work? It's a hard problem, and I know we don't have all the solutions, and that's part of this event series, is being accessible for the rest of us, because those are the voices we need to come in, because they have the ideas that have never touched the space community.
Right. Now people are up there already laying out, I'm going to do this over here. Oh yeah, we're going to build this over here. So what about ownership? What about, this is your area, stay out of ours, and we already bought this plot. I'm like, it's in the middle of the air or whatever, the atmosphere. How are they designating who gets to go where and what you doing over here? Get off. Get off my property. That sort of stuff. Is that already happening with countries and stuff? You can tell us.
Not yet. So right now, most countries that are in space signed a treaty saying the country can't own property in space, but that doesn't mean individuals and companies can't. And so the U.S. has adopted a policy that essentially, if you are a company or a person and you claim it, you get it. So if you can get there and actually start doing work, that is your property. And that's probably how it's going to start out, much like the Wild West, where until there's claim jumpers, there's not a need or a sense that there's a need for property law.
So, and having your background in the CIA, and that sort of thing, seriously though, do you feel that, is it still considered a race, the space race? Or, is it still a big, pissing contest about who's going to get there first and who's, what I mean?
Not in the US, but China for sure is still in a race. Russia to a lesser extent. And they're in that race because space represents the ultimate high ground in any strategic sense. So anything you put in space gets to look down on the entire Earth. And so it's harder then to attack it. It's harder to get there. And so they view it as this place where if they can move fast and get established, then the U.S. will never be able to dislodge them, and they can have a greater say, a greater influence, and a greater amount of power. And in many cases, it seems like the U.S. is not interested in playing that game because we probably assume that they can't do it, and sort of look down on a lot of their bigger ambitions and plans.
And speaking of bigger ambitions and plans, this I'm looking for the right phrase because it's not a turnaround, and this new adventure that you've decided to embark on, and I know you have Lila, partner. She left a great career, I think, in the automotive industry. You left your career in the CIA, and you guys are here doing this thing that seems like such a small nibble out of a big apple. I want to ask you. I know it's a projection. It's a dream. It's a mindset. It's a lot of things. But let's say, Tim, you were able to live to be, let's say, 100 years old.
Mhm.
What would you hope you'd be able to look out and see that your work has literally created before you finish this journey? Because, it's like then you pass the baton, I mean, because that's a big question for me.
Yeah.
Because you said we all want to be remembered for something.
Yeah.
And the only way that can happen is if it stays on the tongues of those who come behind to keep it alive. So what are you hoping to see, Are you planning on stopping off at one of your hotels on the way to the Golden Gate? Hold on, y'all. I need to stop off and check my property. Right.
So for a long time, there's been this idea that the American dream is to own your own house. And at 100, looking back, what I want is space to be, my kids to own a home in space, my grandkids to be working regular jobs in space. They're not astronauts, they're not scientists, but they run a small business in a space station. My great grandkids set up a lemonade stand. Like, normal life happens in space, and my kids, grandkids, and beyond are part of that. And so I can look back and see that this trail I started down is continuing to be followed. And it's not something that they have to do their whole life, because, it's not an Olympic sport. They can come and go, and they have that opportunity, just like they do moving to a new town.
So let me ask this, because it was interesting. I love that. Thank you for that answer. But as you were so eloquently throwing that out there, I could see you saying that to your grandkids and stuff. But then I thought, if I had grandkids, would I, as a Black man, be able to have that same conversation with them? And what I'm getting at is, 100 years ago, people in this country were saying those things about the lifestyles that we have today. But that isn't the conversation that the minorities or the marginalized or, the gays or the, whatever, any marginalized group of people. What is the conversation? What fibers of this fabric are being woven in to ensure that this is truly 100 years from now available to every person?
Yeah.
You see, because I'm glad to see that there's a woman of color in there, but, we got a long way to go. Of course,
yeah.
We do. So is that even a part of the conversation? Is there any dynamic currently in the early stages to make sure no person gets left behind?
Oh, for sure. And so when, most of the time when I talk about, especially workforce development, I say I should be the last white dude with a beard that is entering the space community. We've got plenty of me, that's enough. And so that has been, in many ways, the genesis of what we're trying to do with our workforce initiative, where for too long, the nerds have held us captive. They say you got to have a PhD, you've got to, design a new rocket, you've got to be an astronaut. And that's all well and good. It worked, but we're done. Now it's time for those people who are like the rest of us, ranging from technicians who fix and make things all the way up through artists who create and design and enjoy that. And that's where the rest of us get to play and get to have the experience of space and feel like they have a spot. Because too often when we go to rural areas, to inner cities, I was in Montgomery, Alabama this spring, talking to people. And when I was talking at a community college and telling them about how, look, if you can weld a car or weld an airplane, you can weld a rocket or weld in space. And the eyes that light up with the realization of how true that is like a kid opening a present at Christmas.
Yeah.
And so for many of these people in those left behind communities, they may think all I can do is what my dad did, what I see my mom doing, and those things aren't related to space. And so rather than trying to seem like we're selling them some fake dream and saying you too can play in space, we're saying, no, that job that you see as normal and familiar, we need it in space. Come try it. You think you can do it? Let's go.
I love that. I love that. Tim, there's so much information on your site, even on the card I brought home. One question as we draw close, we have about 4 minutes left. I have two questions, but here's the first one. I noticed on there, one of the bullet points under speakers and attendees that jumped out to me was humanity in space. Mm-hmm. Tell us what that topic sounds like when you're sitting at a round table or on a panel. Is it different than what is it a new definition?
No, but it's about this idea that once you're weightless, once you're looking down on Earth, the playing field's level. Space is trying to kill you. It's harsh environment. All of a sudden, not cooperating is dying. And so that then unifies us in ways we don't have the same opportunity to be unified here on the ground. And so talking about it in those terms and about how it's a shared challenge for those pioneers to be able to create a new culture of cooperation and just advance how we're doing this human experiment. I
love the way that sounds. And, so here I go. I'm putting you out on Front Street. My give back piece is the power of we Chicago. Well, the power of we. We've been to Chicago once here, then in Atlanta. We got an award from the United Nations for it. And we're back in Chicago, April 28th, bringing in about 250 kids of all colors who are interested in coming and experiencing what can be. And so I am giving you the red carpet invitation to not only have one of our vendor spots, you're a nonprofit, free of charge in the lower ballroom. But if you want to send a representative and stuff, get you on our panel to talk to not just the kids, but our general ticket holders about what you're doing here. Because anything that brings us together can bring us together. Yeah. And I think we need more of that. I don't care if it's here in space, in every spot in between. There's not enough and there needs to be more. So I am making that opportunity available to you right here now, wearing my Power of We t-shirt. Oh yeah, that was planned. So, no pressure though. No pressure.
I'm in.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
I was hoping you would say that. And that invitation also is extended to all of you out there, as well as the invitation to join me every day, Monday through Friday, right here at 8 a.m. Central for Illuminated Conversation. Our theme this year is Show Me Your Soul, and we're going to show you ours, just like we did here today. The beautiful part about these moments, these opportunities, is that no one can do anything with an opportunity or about an opportunity if they're not aware of that opportunity. Let that sink in. Take it with you. And join me tomorrow when I have first-time author, I met also at the club in Las Vegas. He was the security guy, but he actually thought he had COVID when he was going to come on. Right. And so he's rescheduled. He's here tomorrow, Rich Mack. His book dropped that night that we were there. Right, and we know that was one humdinger that night. That's a night piece, right? Yeah. So I was looking for anything to extrapolate, anything to extract positively and take it. And my guest tomorrow was one of those, as well as you. And I want to really thank you for it. It takes an unselfish spirit to bite off such a huge piece of what should be a small problem, but it's also a small piece of what is already a huge problem. Now you think about that one, right? But what I'm saying is, I'm just honored to know you and to get to know more about your work and the people that are of service. And we are here in any way possible. Tim Chrisman, and you guys, if you would like, and I know you do, because you guys are always the smartest people, as well as the most beautiful people I know personally, but I don't get out much. So, you know, take that for what it is. F4F, the number 4, .space is how you can get in and take a look at that website we looked at earlier. Learn all you can. Who knows? Perhaps one of these days you'll be packing your whatever you're going to put your stuff in that it doesn't float away, and headed to space. It is not any longer just something of fiction and fairy tales. It is a reality. And I believe more and more of us will be able to experience that while we're still here experiencing life. Take that with you. I'm Lauren Michaels Harris. I will see you guys, all of you, I hope, tomorrow morning. God willing, I'll meet you right out front on the front porch for our next installment of Bathrobe Moments. Tim, thank you so much, my man. You're an inspiration, and so is your work. Okay, have a great one. Bye, you guys. I'll see you soon.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Oh, I'm standing right here holding up a sign.